Hello and welcome to the Coming Down to Earth with Spirit podcast with me, your host, David Hale. In the podcast, we'll be talking about mediumship and all things spiritual in a down-to-earth and honest kind of way, with a touch of humour also. So I hope you can join me on my podcast journey so you can learn from my own spiritual journey and experiences with spirit in the aim to help you on your own spiritual journey, or it may just be to answer any of those questions that you have about the spiritual world. So join me now as we get into this episode. So I wanted to start off my podcast with, by turning a video series that I've recently started on YouTube into a podcast so people can listen rather than having to watch a video of me talking. And I started the video series with the aim of educating people who are either learning to be a medium or just people who want to know about the spiritual world, what happens, what is mediumship, how does it work, by discussing my own examples and real life experiences with spiritual moments or readings that I've done for other people. So hopefully you'll find the episodes entitled Spiritual Impacts interesting, and you will hear me referring to the video. Of course, this is a podcast, so you don't see a video, but it does reference the videos that I have now turned into this podcast. But if you do feel inclined to actually watch me talk about these topics, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is davidh_medium, but the content is exactly the same. Let's get into this episode. We're now on episode 3, and in this episode we're going to talk about spirit visitations, because many of you have experienced them but have lots of questions about them. So what is a visitation? So a visitation is when, during your sleep state, your spirit loved ones will come and show themselves to you, so that when you wake up from your sleep state, you are very aware and left without a shadow of a doubt that your loved ones showed themselves to you and were with you during your sleep state, to the point where it just felt so real, almost so tangible. You could touch them, you could feel them, sense them, see them, talk to them, etc. And it should always leave you feeling with that sense of peace, that sense of upliftment, maybe a bit of emotion, but in a positive way, never in a negative way. So with this video, I'm going to talk about one of my experiences, and I've had many visitations over the years, but I want to talk about the one that has the impacts, that has had the most impact on me, purely because of the validation that came afterwards, to validate that they were with me and that it left me without a shadow of a doubt that our spirit family does come to us during our sleep state, just to let us know that they're all right. And this experience I'm going to talk about involves my paternal grandparents and my dad's parents. And just to give some context around it, just so you understand. So my nan, we always refer to as Nanny Di. Her name is Diana, so we called her Nanny Di. And my granddad Pete sadly passed away when I was only 2 months old. So my siblings and I, my cousins, we didn't get to know him because, as I say, I was only 2 months old when he passed, and I'm the eldest of 3. So he obviously knew of my existence, but obviously I never knew of his at that age. And it sounds weird to say, but I know him more now since he's passed over than I ever did when he was physically here, obviously. So this experience involves both of them, but let's just focus on my Nanny Di first. So I remember one night, obviously in my sleep, I was aware that my nan was there, which it felt quite strange to me, only because she hardly ever comes through, whether it's through another medium or whether it's through to me directly. My maternal grandparents come through regularly because I was closer to them, but my Nanny Di very rarely came through. And also, my Nanny Di wasn't really a quiet woman. She had strong views. She would tell you as it is, and she always had one of those laughs which would make me laugh. And actually, I think I've got quite a similar. When my laugh gets a bit dirty, is very similar to my nan's. But when I saw her there, she was very quiet. She didn't say anything, and again, she never really comes through. So I remember them both being there. But at one point, I remember sitting up in bed, waking up, and I was a bit cockeyed and sort of bit out of it. And I remember saying to her out loud, "Nanny Di, if that's you, I want to see your name tomorrow morning. What I meant by that, I don't know. It just came out my mouth and I went back to sleep. So let's fast forward to the next morning. And as we do nowadays in the world of technology, the first thing we normally do, right, if the phone's next to our bed, we pick it up and we see what's going on in the world. What have I missed out on? Who's texted me during the night? So I picked my phone up. And at the time, I was part of a particular group on Facebook, a group page. And I noticed that from that group page, I had a notification. So I clicked on notification and someone had posted in it a random advert for something. And the first line of the advert said, "Hello, my name is Diana." And as you can imagine, I woke up like that, wide awake. And I bet some of you now watching this video has just got a shudder go through them or a shiver. And that's the truth chills. That's when your soul resonates with something that is true. Same thing happened to me. I was like, no way, get out of it. I'd asked to see her name the next morning, and there it is. The first thing I see, I didn't scroll through my page. I clicked on notifications, and there it was. "Hello, my name is Diana." So that experience alone has told me, or tells me, that 100% spirit visit us during our sleep state. Now, as part of that, bring my granddad back into it, I knew my granddad Pete. I knew he was there because I could see him, and I'd seen pictures and photos of him, so I knew what he looked like. Besides, they were together, so it kind of gave it away that it was my nan and granddad. And all I remember in that from him is that he gave me a great big bear hug. Now, again, I don't remember any hugs from him. Again, I was only 2 months old when he passed, so I didn't quite know what it meant. I just took it as my granddad wants to give me a bear hug. Whether we had that connection in life or not, I'm still his grandson. He still knew me, so I took it as he was just giving me a great big bear hug. I didn't think anything of it until about a week later, during my catch up with my mum. My mum explained to me that's exactly what he would do to her. So whenever my parents would, when they'd visit them on a Sunday afternoon or something, as they were leaving, before they'd walk out the door, my granddad would give my mum a great big bear hug, and that's what she remembers of him. I never knew that, so it's not like it was in my memory bank somewhere that I knew that, but it wasn't an ordinary hug. It was this great big bear hug that he would give. So again, that also validated for me that there's no way I knew that, but I saw it very vividly and I felt it very vividly during my sleep state. So I knew that shadow of a doubt, that was my grandparents coming through to say hello, and also cemented to me again in the fact that spirit do come to visit us during our sleep state. Now, people ask me why. Why do spirit visit us during our sleep state? Why can't they come and say hello during the day? Now, spirit do always give us signs and symbols, but that's another video to come, so we'll talk about that in another video. But one of the easiest ways for spirit to communicate with you directly is not through a medium, but to come to you in your sleep state. And why? Well, it's because during your sleep state, your brain waves, right? Without getting too technical, I'm not a scientist, but your brain waves slow right down. So as humans, we have different states of consciousness, which is based on the speed in which the brain waves are going. Now, in your sleep state, your brain waves are very, very slow. So therefore, spirits say, right, the brains are almost shut off almost, aren't they? They're not thinking, they're not overanalyzing, they're not worrying about how to pay the bills, they're not thinking about getting the kids to school, they're not thinking about ticking that thing off the to-do list. The brain is still. So that's the perfect time for spirit to go, right, boom, let's come and say hello. And that they do. And hopefully with me explaining my experience, you now understand how many visitations you've had yourself. And you understand now and remember how they felt to you. And again, I said at the beginning of the video, a visitation should always leave you feeling uplifted, happy, maybe a bit emotional, but in a happy way. They should never leave you feeling any other way than happy, positive, up and all that kind of stuff without being too airy-fairy about it. But it should never be a distressing experience. Now, talking about that, I have had people say to me, I dreamt my my dad last night and I woke up feeling really anxious and really sad about it, really distressed about it. In which case I would say that was a dream. Again, I'm not a scientist or a dream expert, but as humans, we do dream. And from what I understand, from my own perspective, is that we dream because it's our brain's way of processing things. Sometimes we dream because of something we've seen on the TV that day, or something we've read in a paper or a magazine, and we replay it in our mind during our sleep state, for whatever reason that is. In fact, some scientists do say that bad dreams, nightmares are actually a good thing, because during our sleep state, we're able to process some of those things that we've been experiencing or hanging on to. And we can't process them during the day, because during the day, our brains are so active. We're thinking, we're over-analysing, we're judging, we're doing this, that and the other, that we don't have time to process those things. So during our sleep state, our brains will either consciously or subconsciously process things from the distant past, the near past, things that are coming up, maybe anxieties that we've got, that we're hanging on to because of an event that's coming up or something. So there is a difference between dreaming and between having a visitation. Again, the visitations feel so real. You remember them. You remember vividly what the person was wearing, how they made you feel. Where the dream, I don't know about you, but when I wake up from a dream, and I dream almost every night, when I wake up from a dream, 30 seconds later, I've forgotten it. Unless it's really peculiar or odd, I don't remember the context of the dream. I might remember one or two bits, but I never remember the context of a dream or why I dreamt that particular thing, which has no connection to me. But again, our brains will process things in the way it processes them. So again, a visitation will never leave you feeling distressed or sad or worried or concerned. Just to give a quick example, I had a lady ask me, she said, I saw my mum last night in my dream and she had an argument with me and she told me that I wasn't doing this or she was disappointed. That's not a visitation, that's a dream. That's not your mother. Whether you had disagreements with her or not while she was living, she's never going to bring that through in a visitation, otherwise she wouldn't come. If she had nothing good to say, she wouldn't be there in the first place. So again, it could just be that lady was still processing those issues that she had with her mum while she was still here. And that's normal, but that's your brain processing that. So I just want that to be clear for people watching this as well. But that's it really. I hope that's made sense. And I hope it's answered some of those questions for you. But when you have these experiences, write them down so you do remember them. Write down, when it happened, what did they say? And actually on that note, there's not always a life-changing message. I think a lot of people ask me, and I saw them last night, but I can't remember the message. What was the message? Why did they come through? What they're trying to tell me? What they're trying to tell you is they're okay. The fact they were with you in the first place, that is the message, that they're okay. I think people wind themselves up too much and get too caught up in the head of, what was the message? I need to hear the message. There isn't always a big message. The actual overarching message is, we're okay, we're still with you, we still have that connection. We need to stop looking too much into all the smaller details. There isn't always that life-changing, affirming thing they want to tell you. The fact is, they're there and they're okay. That is the message. So there you have it. That's that episode finished. Hopefully you enjoyed what you heard, and if so, there are plenty more episodes in the Spiritual Impact series to come. So do stick around if you're interested in learning more from my own personal experiences with spirit. Once again, you can find the videos on YouTube if you wish to watch me talk about it. Otherwise, please stick around with the podcast and you can download the episodes and listen until your heart's content. But until then, look after yourselves and hopefully I'll speak to you all soon.